Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today we are doing a movie review for Spider-Man Homecoming, which came out on July 7th, 2017. A day before my birthday. It was the best birthday present a little Spider-Man lover like myself could ever ask for, and I know these gardeners didn't just start the second I hit record. So if you hear gardeners in the background, my apologies. They decided to garden right when I hit record. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, and I personally was so excited for this movie. If you don't know me, I've been a Spider-Man obsessed girl since I was 13 years old. I am now 20. I got to see it on my 20th birthday, so you know, it was a good time. Needless to say, I was very highly anticipating this film, and it did not disappoint at all. We are first introduced to Tom Holland's Spider-Man / Peter Parker in the third Captain America movie, which was Captain America Civil War, and you know, the clips of Peter Parker, those scenes, and Spider-Man were hands down one of my favorite scenes of that entire movie, other than the Bucky and Sam scenes, because those were gold. And yeah, that made me so excited for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and I was anticipating the new Spider-Man movie ever since that Captain America Civil War came out. So I was so happy I got to see it on my birthday, and that movie, A+. A+ work. Oh, how am I going to discuss this movie without like completely fangirling? It took me a month to like come up with coherent thoughts about this film, because it was just like not coherent. It was a whole bunch of fangirl jibber jabber, and here we are a month later talking about a film that I need to go see. I've seen it twice. I need to go see it for a third, a fourth, a fifth, a gajillion more times. So Spider-Man Homecoming was very different than the other Spider-Man films in the past, like Tobey and Andrew's, because Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man start out as origin stories. We see them get bit by the spider. We see them start to transform into Spider-Man. But with Homecoming, and I guess in Captain America Civil War, we already see Peter as Spider-Man. He's already been Spider-Man. He's already been bit. He's already went through all of the phases of becoming Spider-Man. His uncle has already died at this point. So he is already Spider-Man jumping into this film. And yes, I loved it so much. My favorite thing about Tom Holland being Spider-Man is that even though he's 20, he is super close to being a teenager, and he still looks like a teenager, and he still gives off like the teenager vibe like other Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. They were not teenagers when they filmed their Spider-Man films, and that was my favorite thing about Tom Holland being Spider-Man, was that he was a teenager, and you could believe that he was a teenager, and I loved that. I loved the entire cast for this movie. I thought they did an amazing job. My only complaint was the love interest, Laura? No, that's the actress's name. What was her name? No. Liz. That's it. That light bulb just went off in my head. Liz. So I did not like her character, and I think because I didn't like the character, I didn't like the actress. I just thought the character was really flat, and I just was not into it. Who's calling me? Okay, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So I just didn't like Liz's character itself, so I think I just didn't like the actress because I didn't like the character, if that makes any sense at all. The character was just really boring to me, especially as a love interest. Yeah, not a fan of her. It's like Zendaya as Michelle Jones was perfect, like the most perfect casting ever. I'm obsessed with Zendaya, so I just fell in love with her even more. So I am going to be talking about spoilers and certain scenes that were in Spider-Man Homecoming. So if you have not seen that film, I suggest you stop watching, go watch it, and then maybe come back and we can fangirl, fanboy, whatever together, because I can talk about Marvel movies, Spider-Man Homecoming, anything for centuries and a half. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking spoilers, so yes. So Spider-Man Homecoming starts off with Peter essentially vlogging what has occurred in Captain America Civil War and his parts in it, which was fantastic. And just like that whole aspect and like the thought of that scene was just genius. And that was the first scene that they showed in Spider-Man Homecoming. So the fact that that was the first thing you see, you know that that movie is going to be great from there on. So I was pumped. And that whole vlogging sequence is literally the most Peter Parker-esque scene I have ever seen in my entire life. He was such a dork and such like a fanboy about stealing Captain America's shield and just like being amongst the Avengers. He was freaking out, and that was such a Peter Parker thing, and I love it. Can we talk about Ned? Because I'm obsessed with Ned. So in Tobey Maguire's movies and Andrew Garfield's movies, we don't really have like this friendship that is as strong as Peter and Ned's. Because in Tobey's movies we have Peter and Harry, but you know, things happen. They don't really stay that close, and they aren't really like as close as Peter and Ned are. And in Andrew Garfield's movies, the first Amazing Spider-Man, he doesn't have that friend. He only interacts with Gwen and Flash, of course, but he doesn't have a best friend. I mean, we do meet Harry in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but they aren't like this, like Peter and Ned are. And I'm so glad that Ned could be the guy in the chair for Peter, because they are hands down perfect for each other. They are meant to be best friends. Now, let's talk about Tony and Peter. I think Tony and Peter are hands down one of the best relationships in MCU, and that's just my opinion, obviously, but at this point in time, Peter has already lost his father, he's already lost his uncle, so Tony is like a third father figure, and all Peter wants throughout this entire film is to impress Tony Stark and make Tony proud of him. And I thought that was the most adorable thing ever. In the end, Peter did do that, and I feel like Peter's going to continue to want to impress Tony throughout Infinity War and throughout Spider-Man 2, and he's just going to want Tony to be proud of Peter. And they are like a father-son duo. They are iconic at this point. It's only been one film and like some of Captain America Civil War, and just the thought of Tony getting hurt in Infinity War or Spider-Man 2 and Peter seeing it just like hurts my heart, because he's gonna have to go through the pain of like potentially losing another father figure, and that hurts my heart so much. Something I want to talk about is the casting for Flash Thompson in this, because as you've seen, if you've seen the other Spider-Man films with Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's, their Flash was like 6 foot tall, muscles, like huge muscles, and like that typical jock feel, and like someone you like picture to be a typical jock bully. But in this film, that's not what you get. I loved who they casted as Flash, because he's just like not what you expect to be a bully, and he was just so quirky at it, and he wasn't just like, he just said like the most random things. Like he kept calling Peter Penis Parker, which, you know, is odd, but I find it so like random and weird, and I just love that whole concept of him being Flash and being the bully. Now, I don't know if I'm the only person who's seen these theories on Tumblr of Peter Parker being a transgender boy, and I'm way too deep into this conspiracy theory or just theory in general, and if you have not checked that out, go on Tumblr and just like search Peter Parker transgender or something like that, because it's so believable, especially with the whole like Flash calling him Penis Parker thing. Like, my mind was blown. Also, I loved some of the Easter eggs that they had in this film. I did not notice all of them, but I did get a few while seeing it 2 times, and I just loved them so much. I loved Ultron's head, like that was an Easter egg. They showed that, and I loved Donald Glover's part in it, when Peter, like, you know, webbed his hand on the trunk and stuff like that, and that whole scene was just gold and iconic, and everything about that was amazing. The reference of Donald Glover saying his nephew lives in town, like he was referring to Miles Morales, which was gold, and I love that they did that. I just love Donald Glover, so I just loved. Oh, my stomach's growling. Okay, hello. Okay, I already semi-talked about this, but like Zendaya as Michelle Jones, could that be more perfect? She was such a relatable character, especially to me, because I'm that loner girl who like didn't really have many friends in high school, and that's who she is. And the scene where they're in the gym and she's like doing sit-ups, and she like has her book and she's just going like this. Okay, me as hell. And also that plot twist, I guess you call it a plot twist, in the end, when they assign her as like captain of the decathlon team, and she was like, oh, my friends call me MJ, so like, you know that her and Peter are gonna like date, and I can't wait for it, because like you can tell that they kind of hinted at her already being in love with Peter. I guess not in love, but like her already liking Peter romantically, because like of the look she gives and like her interest and her comments. Like, what was her one comment? I forget what scene it was in particular, but she's like, I'm not obsessed with Peter or anything. Like, she did something along those lines, and I loved it because that was me. I loved the Vulture being the villain in this film, and the fact that it went all the way back to right after the events of the first Avengers film, and just like everything that happened with him being Liz's dad was crazy. Side note, Tom Holland in that suit, and Tom Holland like running at the dance, like when he's like taking off his tie. Please put that on my gravestone. Please. Loved how in the end the Vulture kind of forgives Peter for messing up all of his plans, and he realizes that Peter is a kid, and Peter did risk his life saving him from the explosion of his wings or whatever that contraption was. So yeah, and I'm assuming, I know the guy in like the end sequence, like the credit scenes in the prison, I know he's someone from the comics, I believe, but I don't know who he is because I haven't really read them. But I'm assuming he's going to be like the villain in Spider-Man Homecoming 2. I know it's not called Spider-Man Homecoming 2, I meant Spider-Man 2. But I'm assuming he's the villain. I don't really know. But yes. I just love this movie so much. I've talked to Haley from These Book Lines and Taylor from Taylor's Just Reads about it so much. And we're just Marvel trash at this point. Like, we are so far up Marvel's ass right now. Like, it's unreal and I love every second of it. I can't wait for Infinity War where we get to see Peter and Tony again. And I've seen the leaked trailer, so I know some stuff happens and we get spider senses. Oh my god, okay, I can't. I'm gonna freak out right now. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was super random, like the points I was talking about, so sorry about that. But also, moral of the story, moral of the review. I love Peter Parker. Thanks for watching and see you in my next video. Bye!